The rain poured down in ruthless sheets, drenching the city in a cold, merciless darkness. Glass towers glittered faintly against the storm, but one of them, Blackwell Tower, was alive with panic. Inside its top-floor penthouse, chaos reigned. His pulses dropping. A medic's voice cracked as he shouted over the storm. "We're losing him." Adrian Blackwell, billionaire CEO, feared negotiator, a man whose name alone made rivals tremble, lay sprawled on the white leather sofa, his shirt torn open, skin pallid, lips tinged blue. The empire he built from nothing was intact, but the man himself was crumbling before their eyes. Executives, bodyguards, and doctors crowded the room. None dared to show it, but terror flickered in every gaze. To lose Adrian was to lose the shield that held countless enemies at bay. "Prepare the defibrillator," a paramedic barked. Electricity cracked. Adrian's body jolted once, twice, then slumped back unmoving. No response. Again. The silence after the third shock was deafening. His heartbeat flatlined. Someone whispered what they all dreaded. "The CEO is gone." The words felt like a curse settling over the room. And then, from the shattered glass doors of the terrace, a drenched figure stumbled in. A girl, barely in her 20s, her hair matted from the storm, her thin frame wrapped in rags. She looked out of place, a ghost among silk suits and polished shoes. Gasps erupted. Who let her in? But she didn't care. Her wide, dark eyes locked onto Adrian's lifeless form, and something primal, something desperate, flared inside her. "No!" Her voice shook, but it carried an undeniable weight. "Don't you dare stop trying." A guard lunged forward to drag her out. "You don't belong here." "Wait." One of the junior doctors raised a hand, his voice trembling. She's O-negative blood type, universal donor." The medics hesitated. The homeless girl stepped closer, her bare feet leaving wet prints on the marble. "Take mine," she demanded. "Whatever you need, take it. Just don't let him die." The chief surgeon hesitated. It was insane, irregular, unheard of. But faced with the flat line on the monitor and the raw conviction in her voice, hesitation melted into grim resolve. "Prep her." The girl, her name was Alara, though no one bothered to ask, gritted her teeth as a needle pierced her arm. She didn't flinch. She didn't look away from Adrian's pale face. "Why are you doing this?" the doctor asked, bewildered. Her answer was a whisper, almost lost in the storm outside. "Because no one deserves to die alone." Minutes stretched into eternity. Her blood flowed into Adrian's veins, drop by drop, a fragile lifeline. She swayed, her vision blurring, but refused to falter. Then beep. Soft. Faint. But real. The heart monitor flickered to life. Gasps filled the room as Adrian's chest rose with a ragged inhale. His fingers twitched, his eyes fluttering open. Storm gray eyes, confused and burning with life again. "He's back." The room erupted into disbelief. Executives whispered prayers, doctors exchanged stunned glances. And Adrian, barely conscious, turned his head. His gaze landed on the fragile, trembling girl beside him. For a moment, the chaos blurred, the storm, the shouting, the fear. All he saw was her. Her lips were pale, her body weak, but her eyes, those eyes were fierce, unyielding, a fire against the darkness. Adrian's hoarse voice broke the silence. "Who are you?" She swayed on her feet, on the verge of collapse. The corners of her mouth lifted faintly. "No one." "Just someone who wouldn't let you go." And then she crumpled. The medics caught her before she hit the floor. Adrian's hand, trembling, weak, lifted instinctively, as if to reach for her, but he couldn't hold it up. Still, that image, the girl giving him life only to collapse herself, etched into his mind like fire on stone. The rain outside eased into a gentle patter. Inside, silence stretched, broken only by Adrian's fragile but steady heartbeat. For everyone else, it was a miracle. For Adrian Blackwell, it was something else entirely. It was the beginning. The room still hummed with disbelief. Only minutes ago, Adrian Blackwell had been pronounced dead. Now, against every medical prediction, he lived. His chest rose and fell with shallow breaths, but each one was a defiance of fate. Yet no one looked at him. All eyes were on the girl who had collapsed after saving him. Her vitals are unstable, a medic said urgently, kneeling beside Alara. Her lips were nearly colorless, her thin body limp, her soaked dress clinging to her fragile frame. She's a stranger. Why waste resources? One executive whispered to another, voice sharp with disdain. Let her be taken to the public hospital. Adrian's eyes, half-lidded and burning with fever, snapped open at the words. His voice was raw, but carried the steel that had built an empire.
No.
She stays. The room froze. Even in weakness, Adrian's authority was absolute. She risked everything to save me, he rasped. Not one of you did. Silence cut like a blade. The paramedics exchanged a glance and continued their work on Alara. Adrian tried to sit up, but his chest seared with pain. He gritted his teeth. Every instinct in him demanded he see her closer, this girl who had done the unthinkable. But his body betrayed him. He collapsed back against the pillows, breath ragged. From the corner of his vision, he saw her stir. Alara's lashes fluttered weakly, her eyes opening to a blur of light and unfamiliar faces. Panic flickered across her features. She tried to sit, but the four in her arm held her down. Easy, a nurse said gently. Her gaze darted around, finally landing on Adrian. Their eyes met, and the room, the storm, the noise, all fell away. For a heartbeat, he wasn't the untouchable CEO, and she wasn't a nameless girl dragged in from the streets. They were just two souls bound by the thread of blood. Alara broke the silence first, her voice hoarse but steady. You're alive. Adrian swallowed, his throat raw. Because of you. Something unreadable passed through her eyes. Relief, maybe, but also a guarded distance, like a stray cat that had stumbled too close to fire. Don't thank me, she murmured, turning her face away. It wasn't about you. It was about not letting someone die while I could stop it. Her words should have dismissed him, but instead they pierced him deeper. He had built a life surrounded by people who bowed, begged, and betrayed, but not one had ever stood beside him with such stark honesty. He wanted to ask her name, her story, everything. But before he could speak, the chief surgeon interrupted. Mr. Blackwell, you need immediate transfer to the hospital. We can't risk further complications. As for her, she goes with me. Adrian's voice, though weak, carried finality. The executives exchanged horrified glances. Sir, she's just a homeless girl. Think of your reputation. Adrian's gaze cut to them like a blade. My reputation just flatlined. She brought it back. Unless one of you can say the same, get out of my sight. No one dared argue again. Hours later, the storm had quieted, but Adrian's mind had not. The private wing of St. Clair's hospital gleamed with sterile perfection. He lay propped against crisp white sheets, monitors humming softly. Through the half-open door, he caught glimpses of staff whispering about the miracle that had saved him. But his eyes remained fixed on the bed opposite his. Alara. She looked impossibly small against the hospital sheets, her dark hair spread across the pillow. No pearls, no designer dress, just a girl who belonged to the forgotten corners of the city. Yet she carried more courage in her veins than all the men in his boardroom. He replayed the moment over and over, the way she'd staggered into the penthouse, eyes blazing, demanding they keep fighting. The way her blood had become his lifeline. The way she had collapsed after whispering, "No one deserves to die alone." Adrian's chest tightened, not from pain but from something he didn't recognize. Why her?
Why now?
As if sensing his gaze, her eyes flickered open again. Slowly, she turned her head toward him. Their eyes locked, the silence between them humming like electricity. He spoke first, his voice quiet but intent. What's your name? She hesitated. Alara. Alara, he repeated, tasting it like a secret. Then softer. You gave me your blood. You gave me back my life. Why? Her lips curved faintly. Not a smile, more a weary acknowledgement. Because you had 100 people in that room, and not one of them was willing to bleed for you. I couldn't walk away from that. The words struck deeper than any scalpel. He had wealth, power, loyalty bought with fear. But when death knocked, they had all frozen. And a stranger, with nothing, had saved him. Before he could respond, Alara closed her eyes again, exhaustion pulling her under. Adrian lay back, but sleep eluded him. For the first time in years, he wasn't thinking about mergers, rivals, or profit margins.
He was thinking about her.
The girl who had stolen into his life with blood-stained hands and eyes that burned like defiance. The girl he would not forget. Adrian Blackwell was not a man who waited. Boardrooms trembled when he entered. Rivals folded when he spoke. His empire expanded because he demanded the impossible, and got it. But the girl lying in the bed across from him, she was the first thing he couldn't command. Alara, he said her name again, low, deliberate, as if by speaking it he could tether her to him. She stirred, her lashes fluttering. You shouldn't say it like that, she murmured. Like what? Like you own it. The words, soft as they were, sliced sharper than glass. No one dared speak to him like that. No one but her. For the first time in years, Adrian felt the edges of a smile tug at his lips. Dangerous. Addictive. By the third day in the hospital, Adrian's strength returned in fragments. He dismissed most of the doctors, refusing to be treated like a fragile man. What he couldn't dismiss was the need to watch Alara. She barely spoke, spending most of her time turned toward the window. He caught glimpses of her profile, delicate, yet stubborn, as if the world had carved her down to nothing but fire and bone. Finally, his patience snapped. Why do you keep turning away from me? He demanded. Alara's gaze stayed fixed on the rain-smeared glass. Because I don't belong here. You saved my life. That makes you belong more than anyone. She shook her head. I didn't do it for belonging. I did it because I couldn't let you die. Her voice cracked on the last word. Adrian leaned forward, studying her. You sound as if you know death too well. Silence stretched. Her fists clenched in the sheets, but she didn't answer. Later that evening, Adrian's longtime associate, his COO, Marcus Hale, entered with updates on the company. He spoke numbers, contracts, deals, but Adrian barely listened. His eyes drifted again and again to Alara, who sat quietly, a shadow against the window light. Marcus noticed. His expression hardened. Sir, he said carefully, your focus should be on recovery and protecting the company image. That girl, she complicates both. Adrian's gaze snapped to him, cold steel. That girl saved me when the rest of you stood frozen. Marcus hesitated, then lowered his voice. People are already whispering that you're obsessed, that she's after your money, your influence. Adrian's laugh was harsh. She doesn't want a damn thing from me. That's why I can't stop looking at her. Alara stiffened at his words. Her face turned toward them now, her eyes stormy. I don't want your money, she said flatly. I don't want your empire. I want to leave. Adrian's chest tightened. Leave? Where? Her lips pressed together. No answer. That night, Adrian couldn't sleep. He paced the hospital floor, his body still aching but his mind sharper than ever. Her words haunted him. I want to leave. Leave him? Leave after binding herself to him with blood? Impossible. By morning, he made his decision. When Alara woke, a nurse brought her clothes, simple, but new, folded neatly. She looked confused. Adrian stood by the door, dressed in a tailored black suit that restored his aura of command. His storm-gray eyes fixed on her. You're coming with me. Her brow furrowed. Where? My home. My world. You saved my life, Alara. Whether you like it or not, you're now part of it. Her pulse quickened. And if I say no? Adrian stepped closer, lowering his voice. Then I'll spend every resource I have finding you again. You walked into my death and pulled me back. You think I'll let you disappear? Their eyes clashed, hers burning with defiance, his with relentless obsession. The tension coiled so thick it was suffocating. Before she could answer, Marcus entered again, phone in hand, face pale. Sir, we have a problem. Adrian's gaze darkened. What now? Marcus's eyes flicked to Alara. Someone leaked the story. The press knows a homeless girl's blood saved you. They're calling her your mistress. Alara froze, her breath catching. Adrian's jaw clenched, fury igniting in his veins. He looked at her, fragile, cornered, trembling, and for the first time in years, fear surged through him. Not fear of rivals. Not fear of death. Fear of losing her. The hospital room was dim except for the steady green pulse of the heart monitor. Each beep echoed like a reminder that Alexander Drake, the man who commanded boardrooms and built empires, was tethered to life by the thinnest thread. Elena sat at his bedside, her worn hoodie pulled tightly around her as if it could shield her from the stares of the outside world. The sterile scent of antiseptic stung her nose, but her focus never wavered from the man lying unconscious before her. He looked so different like this, stripped of the power suits, the cold mask of control. Vulnerable.
Human.
And somehow hers. She clenched her hands together to stop them from trembling. What have I done? She thought. My blood saved him. But why me? Why was I the only one who could bring him back? Suddenly, a low groan cut through the silence. Elena's head snapped up. His hand twitched. The faintest flicker of life crossed his face. Then his eyes opened. Steel gray, sharp even under sedation, they locked onto hers. For a heartbeat, neither of them moved. Then his lips parted, dry and cracked. Who are you? His voice was hoarse, but threaded with command, the same tone that once made rivals tremble. Elena's throat tightened. She should have stood, should have run before anyone noticed she didn't belong in a place like this. But instead, her voice came out soft, trembling but steady. I'm no one, just someone who wanted to help. His gaze narrowed, confusion cutting through the haze. The doctors, they said, I was gone. His voice broke, almost disbelieving. But I felt something pulling me back.
Warm.
Alive. His eyes locked on her, searching, demanding. It was you. Elena flinched. She wasn't used to being seen, truly seen. Not by strangers who passed her in the streets. Not by the world that overlooked her existence. But now, under his gaze, she felt exposed. I just did what I could, she whispered, turning her face away. Before he could press further, the door burst open. A group of men in tailored suits stormed in, his board members, his protectors, the vultures circling his empire. Mr. Drake, thank God, one of them exclaimed, relief masking the hunger in his eyes. You're alive. We were preparing succession plans. Alexander's hand rose weakly, silencing him. His gaze slid back to Elena, clinging to her like an anchor. Everyone out, except her. The room fell into stunned silence. Sir, another man began. Out. Alexander's voice, though strained, carried enough force to slice through the air like a blade. Reluctantly, the men shuffled out, throwing Elena sharp, suspicious glances as they closed the door behind them. For a moment, it was just the two of them again. Silence pressed in, heavy, broken only by the steady beeping of the monitor. Finally, Alexander spoke. His words were raw, almost vulnerable. You brought me back. I can feel it. My body, my blood, it's different. Stronger. You did something no one else could. His eyes narrowed with curiosity, but also something far deeper. Something dangerous. Why? Elena shook her head, clutching her knees to her chest. Because you were dying. And I know what it feels like to be left behind. The confession slipped out before she could stop it. His gaze softened, just barely, and for the first time, she saw something in his eyes she never expected. Understanding. But before the moment could deepen, his monitor spiked. Alexander winced, clutching his chest. Doctors rushed back in, forcing Elena back against the wall. His vitals are unstable, one shouted. No. Alexander's voice broke through the chaos. His hand reached out, trembling, searching the air until it found hers. He gripped her wrist with surprising strength, his eyes blazing. "Don't leave me." Elena's breath caught in her throat. For a man who once ruled the city without needing anyone, his words carried a desperation that made her chest ache. She squeezed his hand, tears pricking her eyes. "I'm here." The doctors exchanged bewildered glances, but didn't dare pry her away. Somehow, impossibly, his vitals stabilized the moment her skin touched his. Gasps filled the room. "It's impossible," one muttered. "She's stabilizing him." Whispers erupted among the staff, theories, fears, and suspicions blooming. But Elena didn't hear them. Her entire world had narrowed to the man lying before her, clinging to her as though she were the only thing tethering him to this life. And maybe she was. As the doctors retreated to recalibrate his treatment, Alexander's voice rasped in her ear, weak but resolute. "Whoever you are, you're mine now. I won't let you go." Elena froze. A storm of fear, disbelief, and something dangerously close to longing surged through her. Before she could reply, the lights flickered overhead. Somewhere in the hospital, alarms blared. A voice crackled over the intercom. "Code Black. Security breach. Lockdown in effect." Elena's heart pounded. She didn't know why, but deep down she understood. Alexander Drake's near death wasn't an accident. And whoever had failed to kill him before. The echo of Daniel's voice still lingered in the hospital room. "I won't let you disappear from my life. Not after you saved it." Clara froze, her hand halfway to the doorknob. His words weren't just gratitude. They carried the weight of something deeper, something she had no room in her world to handle. She turned slowly, meeting his gaze. His eyes, sharp even in weakness, locked onto her like a vow he had no intention of breaking. "You don't even know me," she whispered, voice trembling despite her resolve. "I'm no one. Just a homeless girl who happened to be there." Daniel pushed against the bed frame, ignoring the pain that shot through him.
No.
"You're the only one who was there. When the world failed me, when people with power, wealth, and connections couldn't save me, you did. And I don't forget debts." His tone was firm, commanding, the voice of a man used to bending entire boardrooms to his will. But Clara wasn't a shareholder or an employee. She shook her head, her voice rising with frustration. "You think this is about debts? I didn't do it for repayment. I did it because you were dying." Her words cracked in the stillness of the room, and for a moment, neither spoke. Daniel's chest rose and fell as he absorbed her raw honesty. He saw it, the fire in her eyes, the kind of fierce goodness he had never encountered in the cold, transactional world he lived in. And it terrified him, because it made him feel. Later that night, Clara slipped out of the hospital, the city's chill biting through her thin jacket. Neon signs glared over the damp sidewalks, and the rumble of traffic drowned out her scattered thoughts. She told herself she couldn't get involved. Not with him, not with his world. But her heart betrayed her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his face, the moment life returned to him, the way he had clutched her wrist like it anchored him to this world. She pulled the hood of her sweatshirt tighter and sank onto a bench near the bus stop. "Don't be stupid, Clara. Don't get attached." But then she heard it. Footsteps behind her. Too heavy, too purposeful. She turned sharply. A man in a dark suit lingered near the edge of the shadows, pretending to check his phone. Something about the stiffness in his posture screamed danger. Clara's pulse spiked. She wasn't paranoid. Living on the streets had taught her how to spot threats before they struck. She stood quickly and started walking, but the man mirrored her pace. Faster. Closer. Her chest tightened. This isn't random. Meanwhile, Daniel sat up in bed despite the nurse's protests. His instincts refused to let him rest. 4 days before his collapse, he had felt it. Pressure building in the company. Enemies circling like vultures. If his sudden illness wasn't an accident, then Clara might already be in danger. He reached for his phone. "Get me Lucas," he rasped, voice low but edged with authority. Minutes later, his most trusted aide appeared. Daniel wasted no time. "Find her. The girl. Clara. Right now." Lucas's brow furrowed. You believe she's a target? I know she is, Daniel said darkly.
His jaw tightened.
They failed to kill me. They'll go after the one person who can unravel everything. Clara's breaths came faster as she weaved through the crowd near the subway entrance. The man followed, closer now, his gaze sharp as a blade. She darted down the stairs, nearly tripping, and pushed through the turnstile. Her heart pounded as she slipped into the train just as the door slid shut. For a moment, she thought she was safe. But when the train screeched to a halt at the next stop, the man was there, already waiting on the platform. Her blood ran cold. He's not just following. He's hunting. The train doors opened. She had seconds to choose. Stay and risk being cornered, or run again. She bolted. Back at the hospital, Daniel's phone rang. Lucas's grim voice came through the line. Sir, we found her. She's being tailed. Daniel's blood surged with fury. He tore at the line in his arm despite the nurse's cries. Then don't just stand there, Lucas. Get to her before they do. His vision blurred, but his resolve sharpened. No matter the cost, no matter the risk, he would not let her vanish into the same shadows she had saved him from. Clara's lungs burned as she sprinted through a dark alley, her shoes slapping against the wet pavement. The man's footsteps echoed behind her, steady, relentless. Stop running, his voice snarled, low but sharp enough to slice through the night air. Clara's heart leapt into her throat. She didn't dare look back. She pushed harder, her body trembling with fear and exhaustion. And then her foot caught on uneven concrete.
She fell.
Pain shot up her arm as she crashed to the ground. The man's shadow loomed over her, stretching long across the alley wall. He reached into his coat. Clara's scream caught in her throat. The storm outside mirrored the chaos inside the CEO's penthouse, rain lashing against the glass, lightning tearing through the night sky. Elena stood at the edge of the vast room, her hands balled into trembling fists. Across from her, Adrian Blackwood, the man whose life she had saved with her own blood, loomed like a storm himself. You think you can just walk away after this? His voice was low, deadly calm, the kind of calm that carried more danger than rage. His piercing eyes locked on hers, burning with something between fury and desperation. Elena swallowed hard, her throat dry. I didn't ask for this. I didn't ask to be dragged into your world, Mr. Blackwood. I saved your life. That should have been the end of it. The words cut through the charged air, but Adrian didn't flinch. He stepped closer, slow, deliberate. The end of it? Elena, do you even understand what you've done? My doctors, the best in the country, all failed me. But you, a girl living on the streets, gave me back my life. Do you think I could ever forget that? Her chest tightened. His words weren't laced with gratitude alone. There was something more dangerous in them, something that made her pulse quicken against her will. She forced herself to meet his gaze. I didn't do it for you. I did it because I couldn't stand there and watch another person die. Adrian's jaw tightened, his composure cracking. Another person? Don't you dare reduce this to some nameless act of mercy. You gave me your blood, Elena. That isn't charity. That's a bond. Whether you like it or not, you tied yourself to me. Her heart pounded in her ears. She wanted to deny it, to laugh in his face and walk out, but every time she looked at him, the memory of his cold, fading hand clutching hers on the hospital bed came rushing back. The silence stretched between them, thick and suffocating. Then, Adrian did something unexpected. His voice softened, almost breaking. I saw death. I felt it swallowing me. And then, I woke up to you. Do you understand what that means? You're not just some girl off the streets anymore. You're the reason I'm breathing. Elena's chest ached. This was too much, too heavy. She shook her head. You don't know me. You don't know the things I've been through. The mess I am.
You're a CEO.
You have everything.
And me?
I'm nothing. Adrian's eyes darkened, his tone sharp as steel. Don't ever call yourself nothing again. Not in front of me. Her breath caught. The intensity in his voice left no room for doubt. He meant it. For a moment, she almost believed him. Almost. Then came the knock. Hard, urgent. Adrian stiffened. His eyes flicked toward the door, then back to Elena. Stay here. But before he could reach it, the door swung open and Marcus Hale, Adrian's most trusted board member, stormed in, flanked by two men in black suits. His face was carved with cold ambition. Adrian, Marcus sneered, still playing house with strays while the company bleeds? You've lost your edge. His eyes slid to Elena, filled with disdain. And this girl? Is this what's clouding your judgment? Elena froze, feeling like prey under his gaze. But Adrian moved with lightning speed, stepping in front of her, his voice a lethal growl. Watch your mouth. Marcus smirked.
Ah.
So it's true. The rumors are flying already that Blackwood's savior is a homeless nobody. Do you think shareholders will keep backing a man who's clearly lost control? Elena felt the sting of shame, but Adrian's hand shot out, slamming against the doorframe with enough force to rattle it. You forget yourself, Marcus. I'm still CEO. And the next time you speak about her like that, it won't just be words you lose. The room vibrated with tension. Marcus's smirk faltered, but he didn't back down. Instead, he leaned closer, his voice dripping with poison. Careful, Adrian. Don't let your heart become your weakness. Because in this game, weaknesses are destroyed. And with that, he turned and left, his footsteps echoing down the hall. Elena's legs felt weak. Her instincts screamed to run, to escape this world of sharp suits and sharper daggers. But Adrian turned to her, his face carved in shadows and fire. You see, he said, voice hoarse with restrained fury. They'll come after you now. Not because of who you are, but because of what you mean to me. Her lips parted, but no words came.
She didn't want this.
She didn't ask for it. Yet standing there, with the storm raging outside and the storm in Adrian's eyes pulling her closer, she knew one thing with terrifying certainty. Her life would never be hers alone again. And just as she opened her mouth to protest, Adrian stepped forward, cupping her face in his hand with a gentleness that contradicted the storm around them. You gave me back my life, Elena. And now, I won't let anyone take you away from me. The words struck her like a lightning bolt, equal parts promise and threat. Her heart pounded, torn between fear and something dangerously close to longing. But before she could answer, the power cut out. The penthouse plunged into darkness. And somewhere in the silence, a glass shattered.